Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Tanzania Bankers Association videocast program. And today we have an amazing guest who is the Managing Director of NBC Tanzania, and he is also the Chairperson of Tanzania Bankers Association. Mr. Theobald Sabi, it's a great opportunity for us to have you and in this fantastic program. You recently became the Chairperson of Tanzania Bankers Association. Looking forward, what is your outlook on the banking sector and the economy at large?
Thank you. First of all, I must appreciate the opportunity to engage with you. Yes. Yes, I've recently taken over as the chairperson of the Tanzania Bankers Association. Your question is on the outlook for the industry. However, before I respond to that, let me give you my thoughts about the economy in which we operate. I am quite upbeat about the prospects of this economy. It is a very resilient economy. Coming out of COVID-19, 2 years ago, you will agree with me that the economy has come out quite strongly. And when you look at the surrounding countries, I think Tanzania stands out in terms of the quality of its economic growth, as well as the broad base in terms of the industries or economic sectors that are driving the growth going forward. You will see agriculture, you will see mining, you will see logistics, you will see manufacturing, you will see tourism. So it's quite a broad-based economic growth. And therefore, we as Tanzanians, we as players in the economy should be grateful for where we are. And therefore, when I look into the future, I can only say that the future is exciting for this country. Now, having said that, the global economy is going through a number of challenges, and Tanzania is part of that global economic system, global economic environment, and therefore there are definitely challenges from that perspective. Now, even with those challenges, I think the opportunity for Tanzania in the future are great. Now, that brings me to the banking industry. The banking industry in Tanzania is at a position of strength, and therefore looking into the future, there is opportunity for the banking industry to continue to play its important role in fostering that economic growth and the ability of Tanzania to continue to be a significant player in the regional economy as well as in the international economic system. So I see banks or the banking industry to continue to grow. I think the recently issued FinScope survey results indicate the banking penetration has grown from 17% to 22%. That tells us that there is still a lot of Tanzanians who are not interacting with banks. And so the opportunity is immense. The remaining 78%, these are, potential customers to the banking industry. So I think the future is exciting for the banking industry.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask a follow-up question. Very interesting area you have touched about financial inclusion. And indeed, there are some milestones that we have achieved so far, as far as reaching out to the unbanked population. But we still have a long way to go, because now the financial inclusion in the country is driven by mobile money. What do you think we need to do as an industry to bring more people into using financial services? Provided by the banking sector.
Thank you. So in overall terms, I think the country has made a good progress on financial inclusion. However, the banking penetration is still low. And I think that then goes to your question about what should banks be doing. We in the Tanzania Bankers Association are very clear that technology and alternative banking channels, alternative service channels should be the route in terms of how we reach more customers, more Tanzanians faster, and with a cheaper cost to serve. So technology and alternative channels. And we've seen in the last couple of years the growth in agency banking, wakalas, the growth in the use of mobile phones as a tool to interact with banks. You know, we are seeing a growth on internet banking, for example. So technology is at the core of what we need to do to get more people into the banking system. But apart from technology, I think it is also about designing services and products that speak to the needs of Tanzanians. Products that speaks to the realities on the ground. You know, I'll refer to the Finscope survey again. It is indicating that of those who are financially excluded, women and the youth, you know, form a bigger part of that group. So how do we, as the banking industry, come up with products that will speak to the specific realities of the youth and of women? And I think this then takes us to the question of how do we solve for bottlenecks. For example, the requirements to provide security, you know, in the lending process, in the borrowing process. How do we work around that? Because that is keeping a lot of people from accessing financing from financial institutions. You know, so I think we will have, as an industry, to be innovative. And when we launched the revamped strategy for TBA in the early part of this year, collaborating with technology companies, using technology and remaining relevant to the local economic situation is a key part of what we're going to do going forward. So we are conscious that we need to bring more people into the banking system, and that we will have to go out there and bring more people, and we will have to work differently. The Finscope survey is telling us that only 30% of Tanzanians can read and write in English. The majority, the majority can do Swahili. It's over 70% can read, write, and understand Swahili. So simple things like just making sure that every bank has its forms, its application forms, its account opening forms its loan facility letters in Swahili. You know, I think that in itself should go a long way in making banking to be friendly and more conducive to more people. So there is a lot that we should do, and we will, as much as possible, focus on that. We have, as part of our strategic objectives in the TBA, to address financial inclusion, and I believe we are going to be making good traction towards that, because that is now a measurable item in as far as the Tanzania Bankers Association is concerned.
Thanks. We have seen quite a lot of reforms as far as the business environment is concerned, particularly for the banking sector and the economy at large. Now, as the leader of the banking fraternity in Tanzania, what do you think should be the focus areas, or where will your emphasis be as far as the business environment is all about?
Okay, my emphasis as chairperson of the Tanzania Bankers Association, I think first and foremost is achievement of the strategic objectives that we've given ourselves as an industry. And I think central to those strategic objectives is increasing banking penetration, which speaks to the overall targets of financial inclusion. But also central to the strategic objectives that we are currently driving is the use of technology. All right, I think that is central to that. But the third part is remaining relevant to the overall developmental objectives of the country as driven by various government policies as well as development plans. Those are some of the strategic components of the TBA strategy going forward. And I think me as the chairperson, together with the governing council, that is something that we are going to remain truthful to. Yeah, so that is foremost, the strategic objectives of the Tanzania Bankers Association. But I think over and above that, and to be effective and to attain those strategic objectives, is to ensure that we become more effective in our advocacy. Advocacy for the industry, advocacy at a policy level. And by this I mean advocacy that is driven by analysis, by position papers, advocacy that is driven by facts, well thought out argument. I think that is a core part of what we say we will improve on for us to be effective in our advocacy role as an industry. The third area that is worth mentioning at this point is the whole idea of sustainable finance and sustainability, and just making sure that the banking industry remains at the forefront of sustainability and pushing the sustainable development goals as well as the environmental, social, and governance aspects in each and everything that we do as an industry. And finally, I think for me and the governing council is to be a force for good in the society. You will agree that every bank has corporate social responsibility programs, but there's a lot of push that instead of focusing on ad hoc initiatives here and there, if as an industry we can choose areas where we want to create impact and we create measurable impact, that is the route that we want to take as an industry. So there's obviously a lot, but I think the key for me as chairperson working with the governing council is to deliver on the strategy, to deliver on technology, to deliver on remaining as a force for good, and to deliver on sustainability.
Let's talk a bit about sustainability, because you have also touched on it. Our role as the banking industry on the society, on the environment, and on governance, generally in the support of sustainable development. What do you think going forward, specifically what are the areas that the banks can concentrate on?
Yeah, so I think we, as significant players in the economy, as players that employ people, as corporate citizens, as lenders, as corporates that have the ability to shape policy and to contribute to policy, we have a lot we can do to society when it comes to the environment, to governance, and to the social aspects of life in general. So let me take the example of banks as lenders, banks as deposit takers, banks as intermediating institutions in the economy. Our role from a sustainability perspective could be just making sure that our lending remains to be sustainably responsible, and that requires our lending policies, for example, our lending decisions to be truthful to sustainability. If it is, to the environment, our lending should be truthful to the environment. On the social aspects, our lending can be truthful, to the social aspects. For example, ensuring that if you're going to support industries, if you're going to support economic activities, that you demand that those economic activities do not, for example, employ child labor, for example, to give an example. So there is a lot we can do as banks, around sustainability. I've just covered the lending side, and there is a lot even within lending, but even as corporate citizens, just the way we operate, is our operation contributing to protect the environment or not? The way we operate. There's a lot we can do around how we operate to limit the damage to the environment. So there is a lot that banks can do around that. I'll give you an example. Banks are employers. So, inclusion, diversity, taking care of our employees. There is a lot that the banking industry should do. So I think as the Tanzania Bankers Association, and sustainability being a key part of what we want to focus on, is to demand that our members take sustainability seriously, that policies that speak to sustainability are built into our processes, so that we continue to contribute not only to the economic development of the country, but to contribute in a positive way to the Sustainable Development Goals and to ESG in general.
So, what is your view on the investment environment here in Tanzania?
Yeah, we are an investor ourselves as an entity, and as I said earlier, Tanzania offers quite an attractive economic prospect for investors. If you look at the natural resources, the natural resource base, mining resources, agriculture of land, water bodies, tourism attractions. One of the longest seashores, lakes, a population which is quite young, which is basically labor. Quite a peaceful country politically, strategically located, bordering 8 countries, and 6 of those are landlocked. I think it's 8 countries. Yes, my memory is serving me right. You have Mozambique, you have Kenya, you have Uganda, you have Rwanda, you have Burundi, DRC, some extent, yeah. It is a country that is strategically located. But also, if you look at the other external markets, India is not far, China is not far. So it is an interesting, it is an investment destination that is quite attractive. And therefore, you would welcome investors to come in Tanzania, and the opportunities are in so many sectors because of all these benefits. Mining value addition, agriculture value addition, or supporting the agricultural value chain, tourism, supporting the tourism value chain, you name it. Transport, logistics, you name it. But even if you don't look at that, you just look at the investment that is going into infrastructure, so power, roads, railway, bridges, you name it. So it is the place to be for investors. And when I speak to investors, that is the one message that we put out there, that it is the place to be. Now, like any country, there are definitely challenges or areas to be worked on for improvement. And you can see quite a number of those are being worked on. So the investment into the infrastructure, roads, railways, bridges that you see, all of those are going to go into making Tanzania a more attractive investment destination. You have banks here that have the capability to support investors of any kind. The country is connected to the international financial system. So it is an investment destination of choice. It's a place to be, and we would attract, we would encourage investors to come into Tanzania. And as NBC, we remain confident of Tanzania as an investment destination, as a business destination. We have seen our business continue to grow. You alluded to the profits that we are making, but those profits are a reflection of the fact that the economy is doing well, are a reflection of the fact that the business conditions are conducive, that one can establish a business, one can run a business successfully and be able to generate a profit. So we are upbeat, we are confident of the future, and we continue to invest in our business here.
Thank you. Since you have talked about the bonds, and we know that as a country, as a market, we need to improve the participation of Tanzanians in the capital markets. From our view, from the TBA perspective, what are some of the measures that we need to take to bring more Tanzanians into participating in the capital markets that we have?
Thank you. Yeah, I think there is definitely need for more and more education of the public, of the capital markets, and the products that are available that can be utilized for Tanzanians to be able to raise capital, from the capital markets. So education is key. And this would need to be a joint collaborative effort between the banking sector, the capital markets authority, the government at large, and all players within the financial services sector. I think that is quite clear. I think the latest FinScope survey indicates that very few Tanzanians understand or take part in the capital markets. I think that's a fact, but now what do we need to do about it? And education is at the core of that. But apart from education, I think more products being issued by various players would also help to support, to stimulate capital markets in the country and to get more and more people interested and to participate. I think that is something that we all have to partake. And I think there is quite a lot. For example, even before we start going into individual investors or individuals who may be looking for capital, even for corporates to issue corporate bonds, for example. And instead of always raising bank debt, that it in itself could go a long way in getting the markets, the capital markets, to become to be utilized by many. So I would say that even with the corporates, just getting more corporates to utilize the capital markets, even before you come to the retailers, the individuals. That is something that we have in the TBA as one of our strategic objectives, which is to develop and to deepen the financial markets. Obviously, we have to work with the other authorities that are mandated for that, like the Capital Markets and Securities Authority. But I agree with you, there is work to be done there. And doing that job would be part and parcel of our strategic ambition as a TBA, which is to deepen the financial markets, to contribute towards a deepening of financial markets and to get more and more people into the formal financial system. So I think education for us is key. Developing product knowledge even within the banking sector so that bankers can educate the general public, the corporates, around all the avenues that are available to corporates and to individuals. If they were to access the capital markets, is something we're going to do as part of our strategic drive going forward.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana
For your time
Asante.
and for the many things you've shared with us. Thank you very much.
Cheers.